Hello, dear listeners. I'm back with a rambling, specialized video. I just finished reading, Crossed by Garth Ennis, which made me curious about other works that I know he did The Boys and Preacher, but I had never read Preacher, so I decided to pick it up, and I've read it. And I have to say, Garth Ennis, while I don't know, while he's a good comic book writer, I guess. Well, I don't know how to I'm trying to formulate it so it doesn't sound insulting. Because I did enjoy The Boys up to a certain point, but here's the deal. Here's the deal with Garth Ennis and not only his, but it's a specific area of writing that I don't mesh well with. It's torture porn. Basically, it's what can we put on these pages that will push the envelope and make people go, oh my god, and start to clutch their pearls, right? So Garth Ennis does this very, very egregiously. The Boys is basically, the basic premise, once you boil everything down, is if humans were given the power of comic book, like the superpowers that you see every day in comic books, they would immediately misuse all of their powers. Like, categorically, from top to bottom. And those that don't misuse their powers are fucking retarded. And these are in the, like, this is from the books themselves. Like, this is inevitably the conclusion you have to come to while reading The Boys. The people with powers are always drunk, drug addict, lunatic, fucking deprived people that prey on the innocent, powerless populace. Which, okay, cool. Is there it's very nihilistic, right? It's like, oh, given the chance, every human being would turn to hedonism completely and utterly. Cannibalism, pedophilia, like they would turn into the worst version of a human being if given the barest minimum power that could be afforded them. Which, if you're going for that, good for you, but I don't really subscribe to that thought process. That's okay. Preacher, I didn't get far into Preacher. I just got volume 1. I couldn't find the others just yet. I'm working on that. It's a good series. It's probably his best series. Like, it's engaging. It's really, really well put together. But it boils down to again, you can boil it down very easily by saying everyone with a religious belief is an asshole. Everyone who believes in God sucks. Like, everyone with any sort of religious belief is a fucking degenerate. Or, up his own ass so fucking far that they think themselves close to God. There's no in between. Garth Ennis goes all out on absolutely everything, and this brings me back to Crossed. Now, I read his run, and I read a whole bunch of other runs. Now, his run is, by and far, probably mildly, like, the medium, right? The middle of offensive in that series. He didn't come even close to what the series becomes after him. My God. That I'll get into that after, but his run specifically is like he gave up all pretense and decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna make torture porn. I'm going to make porn, not porn, but like, I'm going to make something so gratuitously violent and vile that only the sickest fucks would find it entertaining. Like, I will make something that boils humanity down to their base instincts, or what I think is their base instincts. Like, it all boils down to, it comes back to the boys, right? Give humanity power, they misuse it in the most horrible way. Give them an infection that takes away their inhibitions and their moral compass and all that, and they'll choose violence and vile acts every time. There's not once that these Crossed decide, hang on, I don't want to murder people. No, that would not be entertaining, and I get that. The whole premise is kind of like The Walking Dead, right? You have your survivors, you have the virus, the infected people, and they have to survive, and it's fun watching them survive and watching their interactions. Where it shines completely, their interactions with each other are actually better than The Walking Dead, I find, which I also read. Yeah, I don't know, it just seems like it's edginess to be edgy, and not to tell any... I like my stories to have a kind of a meaning, right? Even if a bigger meaning than people are shit. I'm sorry, I look for a better meaning than that, because if everyone's shit, then my overwhelming want to off myself is justified. My existential dread that I've been feeling for the past 30 years of my life is justified, and I can't accept that. Accepting that would mean ending it completely. It would be just... It would not be very healthy for me. Even though deep down I know I should accept it. I know I should accept that deep down everybody's shit. Everybody has the capability to be violent and depraved. But I like and need to think that there's more in there, buried deep inside of humanity. A sort of, if not goodness, a sort of redeemable aspect. I like to think that we wouldn't fuck each other off the planet, both metaphorically and literally fuck each other off the planet. I need to believe this. And I hate this sort of story. Not because it's badly written. I'm not saying anything about his ability as a writer. It's actually well-written things. It's well-written stuff. It's just the core message that it doesn't mesh well with my own preference, I guess. And everybody's allowed their opinion. Everybody can pick and choose what they read. I just kept going down this rabbit hole of Garth Ennis seeing the world as fucking trash. Like, it's incredible. It's incredible to me that a person can take my most inner, darkest thoughts. And maybe that's why I don't like it. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because it reaches inside of me to a place where I don't want to go and pulls out all of this stuff that I believe and at the same time don't. That I believe but know that I don't want to believe it. Like, I do believe that humanity is shit, and give it half a chance, we would eat each other. But I need to not believe that. I can't consume media that tells me that, yeah, you're justified. People are shit, and, well, either accept it and join in the orgy, or, you know, the door is just a knife swing away. I can't. I cannot accept that. It's not that mentally I can't, because, yeah, of course I can. I believe that already, but to preserve what is left of my will to live as infirm and dilapidated and just decrepit as it is, I need to force myself not to. I need to actively force myself to see the good in things, even when there's none, even when there is none. But I'm not a blind idealist. I can tell when a situation is fucked. I just can't keep consuming media that affirms these bad thoughts of mine. And Garth Ennis he embodies those bad thoughts with his writing and his comics. As good as they are, and they are good, I cannot recommend them enough if you're not prone to existential crisis of the mind like I am. And recently, and I know I'm going to buy it. I know I'm going to buy it. Recently, he came out with, I believe, what was it? Batman Reptilian. Now, I've been begging for years for a Batman story that isn't about the Joker. I have a Joker boner just as much as everybody else. I own the 80-year Joker graphic novel, the 80 Years of the Joker. I own that. I love that. But that's why I loved the Batman movie with what's his face from Robert Pattinson. I love that movie because it has the Riddler in it. Not a mention of the Joker except in that extended scene, which I guess it's fine, whatever. But the main antagonist is the Riddler. Love that. Love to see the Riddler. And I'm gonna buy Batman Reptilian. I can't stop myself from buying it. Even though, well, it's DC, so it could curb Garth Ennis's penchant for this type of stuff, but it is, I believe it is under their black label. Yeah, it's under their black label, like the Three Jokers and all that, which gives them a lot more leeway to insert this sort of sick kind of stuff. But I am going to buy it because it's interesting. It interests me. Like I said, guy's a good writer. I'm just prone to existential crises of the fucking mind because my brain is apparently broken. It's like The Walking Dead, for instance. I read there's a compendium, there's a series of compendiums actually, that's as big as a dictionary. Like even bigger than a dictionary, I think. I owned number 1, I read it through and through, and I couldn't get into it. Because again, I feel like a protagonist's suffering has to mean something. It has to mean something. If it doesn't mean something, why am I looking at it? Why do I have to be the eye in the sky for this poor soul's damnation? You know? Like, Rick goes through a hell of an arc. Like, he goes through everything, and still he's stuck in a hopeless situation. A hell that he can't escape. And I hate it. Speaking of The Walking Dead, shifting gears here, I also hate when a series introduces an antagonist that just won't fucking leave. Like, okay, I get it. This guy's a bad guy. You gotta get rid of the guy. But at some point, the conflict has to come to a head. It has to come to something. It has to come to blows or to conversation or something that allows the story to move the fuck on. Which is really what it boils down to with these hopeless situations that are depicted. There's no moving on from it. Humanity's fucked and that's it, so why am I reading this? Yeah, it's for the social interactions of the people still alive and their day-to-day, but that can only retain my attention for so long, so they introduce antagonist after antagonist after antagonist that is unrealistic at best and annoying at worst, because in this world of just getting fucked left and right, I sincerely believe that people would band together more than they would try to prey on each other. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe I'm more idealistic than I thought. Maybe it's because I'm forcing myself to be. When it's that or die, I mean, you kind of don't really have a choice. Moving on that same train of thought, protagonists suffering. A protagonist's suffering, like I said, has to mean something. It can't just be gratuitous violence for the sake of violence and for the sake to make this guy suffer. Yeah, I get it. You made a protagonist that is in a world or in an environment or does something that fucks him over badly. At some point, he has to be redeemed. He can't always just fall short and, oh, okay, this was expected, I guess, because, well, we're here to see a lashing, not an actual story. Take Elric, for example. Elric was effed from birth. He killed his mother on the way in. His father hated him. His blood is so weak that he has to have potions and sorcery to keep him alive. His people think him an ineffectual ruler. The only people that love him and he loves get ripped away from him by his own hand, or things that he does, like take the black sword. I mean, there is literally a god that revels in his suffering, his plight, and his struggle. But it seems to have a point. He learns from it. His different incarnations learn from it. This is something that's done right. Yeah, he suffers. Yes, he suffers like nothing else. He suffers over and over and over again. No matter how powerful he gets, people keep getting ripped from him. People keep double-crossing him. He keeps messing up situations so badly that he has to abandon everything he has grown to love. But he grows from it. He starts over. That, to me, is an example of some hope. You gotta install some hope into it. Not just to rip it out from under us, but some genuine hope. Because we grow to love these protagonists. We grow to be attached to these characters. And having them be beat down over and over and over again just makes me not want to read. It's like, why would I read this novel again? I don't want to see him get fucked. Like, I don't want to see him destroyed mentally, physically, and every other way. I've grown to love this character. I don't want to see them suffer for no reason. But Elric has a reason. This is a protagonist that is done well. And then you have, but also on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have characters that never suffer anything. Characters where everything goes right. Those stories can be just as boring. It's like, okay, cool, there are no stakes. They develop a plan. The plan is flawlessly executed. The antagonist gets destroyed, and okay, cool. I felt no sort of no involvement. I felt no stakes were at stake. I felt no investment in the story. It was well written, sure, but other than that, Which comes to The Witcher. Yeah, he tries to make it look like Geralt fucking suffers. He doesn't. Not that much. He always prevails. He always comes out on top. He's always the strongest, the smartest, the fastest. Like, it's not annoying that much if done in small doses. Like, there are opportunities for characters to be badass. And then there are just characters that are badass. Like, no matter what situation I'm in, I can always do whatever. And that too is boring. It gets boring. There has to be a happy medium. Even if it's skewed one way or the other, even if the medium is more on the protagonist being a little more successful, or protagonist being a little more beat up. That's fine. But it can't be one extreme or the other. You know, it can't all be bright fantasy and bullshit like that, or it can't all be grim darkness and suffering. Like they do in what was it called? It's oh gosh. Oh. Yeah, sorry, I had a blank here. Warhammer. The Warhammer setting is set up in such a way that humanity is failing. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war and only that. No matter how much humanity wins or loses, the stakes and the answer to this story remains the same. Humanity is pretty fucked. They have no direction. They have a bloated comical version of our government, which has redundancy after redundancy built into it for whatever reason. So their ineffectiveness is just horrifying. They have a fear of new technology and yet can't live without it. They have, actual witch hunts, which is interesting. See, that swings from one extreme to the other, but it stops in the middle every once in a while. Right? Like the Primarch of the Ultramarines. He came back to life, which could have been a massive Deus Ex Machina. He could have been like, "Oh, I will fix all of this Imperium. I am the new emperor. I have just as much power as my father." No, he doesn't, and he fails a couple times. He's resisted. It's still grim dark, but there's hope. They gave us hope. But yeah, that's just my take on all these stories, and I took us from one extreme, now another. Let's say, what was it? Oh gosh, it was Injustice. Yeah, there we go. Superman, as a character, is bright. He's hopeful. All the stories are, they all end, for the most part, well for him. But he's not perfect. He doesn't pretend to be perfect. He doesn't announce to the world, "I am a perfect being and I'm flawless and there's nothing you can do." But in recent years, there's been this trend of skewing superheroes to be evil. Like, I don't mind when it's well done and original, like your original characters, like in Invincible. That's really well done. I love Invincible. It's so good. Read it, watch it, don't care how you consume it. It's freaking good. But that is an original, it's an original IP. When they take someone as hopeful and symbolic as Superman and they make him fall, it's just like saying, look, nothing can stop the darkness. We're all evil. No matter who you are capable of hugely destructive actions. And yeah, Superman is capable of it. But the whole point of those comics is that he doesn't. He has the power to destroy planets, and yet he doesn't. He has the power to enslave humanity, but he doesn't. It's a hopeful story about the humanity of someone that isn't even human. And I love those stories. I didn't care for Injustice. Yeah, it's well written. Like I said, all of these stories, nothing against the writers. The writing is solid. I don't like how a character that's been good for so long has been twisted. Even though they say, oh, it's an alternate Earth, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but you're still tainting the character. Even the Man of Steel movie, like, you're still tainting the character. You're not giving him depth. Depth doesn't mean darkness. Depth doesn't mean, being edgy. Depth comes through developing a character, through throwing him adversity and having him overcome it, or not immediately succumb to it. Like, yep, the world is hopeless. Even Superman would succumb to this very quickly. Like, do you have any idea how much Superman would fight Darkseid's control? Do you have any idea how far Superman would have to be pushed for him to even crack a small fraction? It's a worrisome trend, I guess. It's just taking a superhero that used to be a symbol of hope, justice, and a symbol that gave me as a child the impression that there's always someone that is there. There's always someone that cares. There's always a way out of situations. The world isn't dark. The world isn't a scary place. The world has friendly people in it. And they took that symbol and they pissed on it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I'm not going to butter it up. They pissed on it. They took Superman and they pissed edginess all over him. And I'm pissed at it. Like, I'm tired of saying, like, oh yeah, Injustice was good. Oh yeah, Earth, what was it, Earth 2? Yeah, or, Earth 2 was good. Like, they're good stories, sure, they're entertaining, but at what cost? They piss all over a symbol that was bright and hopeful and gave children, like I was, children that don't have much hope, children that don't have people like Superman in their lives. They gave them hope that someone like that might exist, that someone like that was possible, someone that cared, someone that upheld things like justice and things that were right, and didn't buckle or yield in the face of public opinions that, it's okay for this to happen. No. That's why I loved Captain America too. I believe he had a similar quote. I think it's attributed to him. It's like, I'll paraphrase, it's what happens when you stand against the world. They try to tell you something wrong is something right. It's your duty to stand there, to not yield, to stand there. I believe it was like a tree next to the river of truth, and say, no, you move. You're wrong. This isn't right. But at some point during the comics' evolution, bad guys, like, it became really, really, really cool to be bad. It became awesome to be a bad guy. It became awesome to be someone that doesn't obey the rules or doesn't stand for justice, that doesn't stand for truth. It became cool to see human life as expendable. And we have characters like Deadpool for that. We have characters like Lobo for that. Like, don't corrupt something that we used to look up to. Don't do that. Don't take that from us. But anyways, I've been thinking of this, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I think it shows. It's been grating at me. Like, every time I go to the comic shop, every time I go to conventions, anytime I see a comic, like a new comic coming out, it's always like, oh, this dark take on this ultra bright character is gonna blow your mind. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. What the hell? It just makes me not want to pick up that particular comic, because you're going to ruin this character that I love. So, fuck off. At some point, somewhere, in some boardroom somewhere, the edgy kid that used to paint, like, that used to draw superheroes dying, got the reins and decided that his way was the way to go. His way was the only way. Somebody needs to take the reins from that kid. Seriously. I mean, again, if it's an original creation, like The Boys, that's original in that world. Yeah, everybody's a scumbag. Let's go. Woo! Good. Great. But not Superman. Not him. And I know it's kind of silly to get an emotional attachment to these fictional characters, but I grew up with them. They were all I had. They were all I had when I was miserable and I needed to escape. They were all I had when my father was beating the shit out of me. When school was too much to fucking take. When I had to watch my mother try to kill herself. When the only person that ever loved me died, my grandmother. These characters were the only escape I had. I could just slip into these worlds, and Superman would fly to the rescue. Batman would be there to fight off the people hurting me. The Flash would be in time to save me. I longed to live in a world where heroes existed. And seeing them, I don't know, besmirched, corrupted, twisted, it hurts. It hurts in my childhood, man. I don't care for these stories that much. Like, I'll read them. They're well written. It's a cool what if, but I don't consider them canon in any way at all. So, yeah, no. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get this emotional. I just really hold these characters close to my heart. Like, I have always held these characters very close to my heart. And seeing them being messed with, well, like I said, it hurts. I know it's kind of silly to care about fictional characters to this degree, but it was the only thing I had to grow an attachment to. They were the only constant. They were the only things that were always there for me during my life. As sad as that sounds, Superman helped me get through a lot. Batman showed me that perseverance is the only thing you have. Strength of will is the only thing that's going to carry you through, because no one else will. Anyways, end of rant. Hope you enjoyed it. I just had to get this off my chest. It's been bothering me for quite some time. Yeah. Next week there's going to be another video. It's going to be me playing Path of Exile, which is a Diablo 2 like game with some tweaks. I actually really like it. So until next time, remember, be careful out there.